Thank you for joining us today for the Faithful Families webinar. We'll be sharing some ways that you can encourage your community to increase their physical activity on a daily basis. But before we get started, I just want to go over some logistical things for this webinar. If you haven't already, please dial in via your phone opposed to your computer. The sound quality will be better. And remember to please mute your mic so we don't experience any feedback on our end and your end. We should also have some time at the end for questions, so please type your questions into the question box along the way. We have two presenters today. Mary B. Colby is the Healthy Eating and Active Living Coordinator for the Community and Clinical Connections for Prevention Health Branch at the North Carolina Division of Public Health. In this role, she provides project management and oversight to various healthy eating and active living strategies with a focus on physical activity and the built environment. She serves as the project manager for Active Routes to School, a project designed to increase the number of elementary and middle school students that safely walk and bike to school. She also serves as the coordinator for Eat Smart, Move More North Carolina, a statewide movement to promote increased opportunities for healthy eating and physical activity. In addition, Mary B. oversees implementation of the North Carolina Healthy Out of School Time Recognition Program. We're really excited to have her with us today.
Hello, everyone.
And my name is Julia Yao, and I am the new Faithful Families Program Specialist as of a month ago, and I'm really excited to be part of this program. As a program specialist, I will be your technical assistance person with anything Faithful Families related. So please reach out to me if you have any questions about the program or our upcoming events and trainings. We have quite a few things we would like to share with you all today. Mary B. will start off by going over some reasons why more people are promoting walking as part of health promotion programs, as well as some physical activity guidelines and what they mean for everyone. And then we'll provide an overview of the new Faithful Families Walking Challenge, which we're really excited about, the Active Routes to Schools program, and how faith communities can benefit from shared use or open use policies. And now I'll turn it over to Mary B.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've seen some familiar faces, some familiar names on the list of attendees, so it's good to see everybody out there today, and thanks for joining us. So why should you walk? From the people on the list that I see, that I know, I think this might be old news to some of you, but I might give you some pointers on how to promote this to the people that you're working with. Walking helps a person to be physically active, which is one of the most important ways to improve health and well-being, and making walking easier helps communities by improving safety, social connections, the economy, and even air quality. Our former U.S. Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, said the journey to better health begins with a single step. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So you may know that about 5 million adults in North Carolina, or about 66%, are either overweight or obese. And part of that is because over half, or 52%, of adults in North Carolina do not get the recommended minutes per week of moderate to vigorous aerobic or physical activity. And almost 3 out of 4 do not meet the weekly muscle strengthening exercise recommendations. So walking is one of the ways that you can do that. But why is this important? Well, 30%, you have a 30% lower risk of early death if you are physically active some every day. Oh, that didn't switch. Sorry about that. People who are physically active have about a 30% lower risk of early death. Even low amounts of physical activity reduce this risk. Conversely, physical inactivity accounts for about 11% of premature deaths in the U.S. So what's important about regular physical activity? You can see the list here of all of the things that it improves. For children and adolescents, you see improved cardiorespiratory fitness, muscular fitness, bone health. It helps with body composition and improves that muscle-to-fat ratio, and it improves markers of cardiovascular and metabolic health. I'm going to turn the volume up just to make sure you guys can hear us. For adults, you can see this extensive list here. Lower risk, we just talked about. Lower risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, colon and breast cancer, metabolic syndrome, helps with prevent weight gain, helps with weight loss, improves your cardiorespiratory fitness, and on. So there's a lot of reasons why you want regular physical activity. So what are the guidelines around physical activity for children? We know to get substantial health benefits, children and adolescents should have at least 60 minutes or an hour or more of physical activity every day. And that you need it in the 3 different types. You need that aerobic type of exercise, which is 60 minutes or more, should be moderate or vigorous intensity, and they should include that at least 3 days a week. Also, you want them to do some muscle strengthening as a part of these 60 minutes, and also something that will help strengthen bones. It's important to encourage young people to participate in physical activities that are appropriate for their age, that they will enjoy, and that offer variety. So what are the recommendations for adults? Very similar to those for children. They should have, for some reason, this didn't get my updates, but that's okay. So adults need a minimum of 20 minutes of physical activity every day. And they should be vigorous at least 3 days a week, and also 2 days of muscle strengthening activities. So I'm hoping that some of this data has convinced you that walking is a really great thing to do. But who should walk? Walking is the most common activity of adults and teens. It requires no special skills or equipment. It's easy to begin and maintain as a part of a physically active lifestyle. Most people are able to walk, and many people with disabilities are able to walk or move around with assisted devices, such as wheelchairs or walkers. So we're going to focus on walking today, but I do want to remind you all to think about how people or persons with disabilities can be included in any of the programs that you're doing. And walking is a year-round activity that can be done both indoors or outdoors. So I'm hoping that you're convinced, but we're going to now start to talk about some things that you can do to promote walking in your community.
Thank you, Mary B. So the Facial Families Walking Challenge was very recently completed, and we're pretty excited that it's now available for download on our website. So the challenge intends to encourage members in your faith community to increase their physical activity by walking more on a daily basis. So it's important to note that it's not meant to be a strict exercise plan. It's meant to help encourage simple lifestyle changes that can be incorporated pretty easily into a regular routine. So what this means is that instead of simply having folks set aside time for exercise in their day or in their week, the challenge also encourages people to walk more while doing the things that they normally do at home, in their faith setting, at work, and just around their neighborhood. And it also provides strategies for folks to integrate walking little by little into their daily lives, which can help them develop longer-term habits. So what is the challenge? It's a 4-week-long event that uses friendly competition and community support to encourage people to walk more from week 1 to week 4. And for every 10 minutes of walking, participants receive 1 point. And they will track how many points they receive throughout the week to see who accumulated the most points at the end of the challenge. And whoever leads the challenge can decide if he or she would like to hand out prizes to those who walk the most at the end of the challenge. And you want to make it really fun for the community, so whatever they would like as part of this challenge. So they can either compete individually or they can even form teams. And they can decide if they want a big prize at the end or no prizes at all. We can leave it up to that community. And all the materials that you need to plan and implement the challenge can be downloaded from our website. You can see all the materials in that graph right there. So as part of the packet, you'll receive the challenge overview, which goes over all the steps to organize, implement, and evaluate the challenge. You also receive a announcement post-it, so it'll help you advertise the challenge. There's a sign-up sheet, and the walking log sheet, which you'll hand out to participants so that they can record their points over the course of the 4 weeks. And the weekly newsletters, which I'll talk more on the next slide, they're meant to be given out to participants on a weekly basis, and you can either provide printed handouts or send them via email, whatever is easiest for you and for the FACE community. You also get a certificate of achievement that you can hand out to folks at the end of the challenge. And finally, a evaluation survey, which I'll talk about more later. So the weekly newsletters are a great resource because they provide suggestions on how to incorporate more walking into a daily routine throughout the 4 weeks. The challenge has participants start off pretty slow and then steadily has them increase the amount and pace of walking, and finally ends with suggestions for long-term changes in their faith community. So for example, the week 1 newsletter contains tips to include walking as part of something that folks can do with family and friends. It also provides tips on staying safe while walking outdoors or later in the day in the dark. It provides tips on wearing the proper clothing and reminders on how to set a time or a place that you can actually incorporate walking throughout the day. The week 2 newsletter takes folks out into the community with suggestions on how to explore the outdoors and their neighborhood, either on their own or with their faith members, friends, and family. And then week 3 encourages folks to increase the intensity and duration of their pace. For example, you can suggest that folks take the stairs or park further away from their destination. And because faithful families is not just concerned with individuals as an individual level changes, but also structural and environmental supports, week 4 provides ideas on how your faith community can actually implement policy and environmental changes to support their members in their walking. So for example, a community can help map out safe walking routes around their neighborhood. They can create walking trails, or they can develop a stairwell policy to encourage using the stairs instead of the elevator. So the great thing about this challenge is that it's pretty easy to do and encourages community members to motivate each other. And it's something fun that they can do with friends and family. The members can start off at whatever pace they like, and then over the 4 weeks, they can encourage themselves and each other to walk more. It also helps community members build a network of support, which can help participants stay motivated, not only during the 4 weeks of the challenge, but also after the challenge ends. And it's also more fun if you have other people to do it with, and a little bit of friendly competition can actually jumpstart that motivation to walk more. And then finally, at the end of the challenge, we want to encourage folks to fill out the brief evaluation survey. This will help us determine whether or not community members actually enjoy the event, and the feedback will help us plan future physical activity programs. We can actually provide county-level data for you all from these surveys as well. So we have a printout version of the evaluation, but we also created an online link, which is right here, that you can direct folks to after they complete the challenge. So that way you don't have to physically collect written evaluation forms and then have to send them to us. This will directly go to us. And that's the walking challenge. Now I'll turn it over to Mary B again.
Thanks, Julia. So after the walking challenge, what can you do next? So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to promote walking throughout the community and how you can find other community programs that are also already promoting walking in your community. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Active Routes to School because we're very proud of the work that is done all across North Carolina by our 10 Active Routes to School coordinators. So Active Routes to School is a partnership between the North Carolina Division of Public Health and the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And what they do is they work together to support 10 Active Routes to School project coordinators across the state who will help schools develop their own walking and biking to school to or at school programs. Through this program, we are able to coordinate what we also call Safe Routes to School programming within this statewide regional structure, and communities benefit from working together to reinforce their investments locally. What this does, it enhances the safety and support of children walking and biking to school, and it also strengthens the support for active living in the neighborhoods through increasing the availability of safe, accessible physical activity opportunities, and also through incorporating health objectives in comprehensive plans used by local decision makers to manage municipal and county growth. Like I said, there are 10 Active Routes to School project coordinators working across North Carolina to make it easier. And our goal is to increase the number of elementary and middle school students who safely walk and bike to school. So why should children walk or bike to school? Well, it helps them develop healthier habits. It promotes a cleaner environment. Any of you who stayed in the carpool line know that this is true. It promotes safety. We don't want to hear about accidents where children or pedestrians are involved. It can reduce that traffic congestion that can clog our roadways. It creates a stronger sense of community. It reduces costs. I know here in Wake County, where Julia and I live, the cost of busing children to school is quite high. It also improves accessibility for all, because if you have created an environment around the school that supports walking and biking for the children, it's going to support walking and biking for all the community members. And it improves that community infrastructure, which ultimately improves property values. So I wanted to show you this. This is what you will see if you go to the Active Routes to School website. And the reason why I wanted to point this out to you is because the map shows you the regions for our 10 coordinators and also has their contact information. So if you click on the part that says click for more information, it will take you to contact information for the program. So there's an Active Routes to School coordinator that is available to help your community wherever you are across North Carolina. Some of the project activities that they are involved in, they increase what we call one-time awareness raising events, which are the walk to school and bike to school days and anything else that happens once. They also support ongoing programs. So those are like programs that do things like Walking Wednesdays or Walk at School. There's several schools that now walk every day when the kids get there, which is really fantastic. They also offer trainings and workshops to help you learn how to teach children how to safely walk to school or how to ride a bike. They also work on policies that support walking or biking in all of the communities that they serve. And they help develop plans for infrastructure to identify the physical improvements that need to happen to make walking and biking safer for everyone. So what are some common elements between the Active Routes to School program and the programs that you will be supporting? Well, you need to have that champion, whether it's an in-school or an in-your-face community champion. You need to do some promotional activities so it will get the word out and get people excited about what you're doing. You need to develop that community support, and you also need to look at those policies, whether they're in your faith community or in the municipal area that you are in, or even in your county, that will support what you're trying to do through walking. So how can you or your program engage with active routes to schools? When you are in, what you need to do is you need to look at where you're located. If you have a school near your faith community, you can certainly help them develop the neighborhood to be safe for walking and biking. You can also support and promote walk to school or bike to school. We have several very good partnerships between local faith communities and schools, where the school is close enough to the faith community that children can be dropped off at the faith community and then walk or bike to school from that facility. I think it's a really great partnership and it works really well. And a lot of our faith communities, if they are located close to a school, they will often have before or after school programs, which is a really great way to also encourage walking, because hopefully the children can walk between the facilities instead of being transported by car or other motorized vehicle. So I also want you to think about considering a shared or open use policy for your faith organization. What is a shared use? It's also called joint use or community use. And that's when an organization agrees to open or increase access to their facilities for community use. Shared use is considered a formal agreement between two or more partners. So it's a little bit more formal than what we like for you to consider more often is an open use policy. And that's just the practice of allowing free community access to the recreational facilities at your faith community without that formal agreement. So how can you do that? Or what can it look like for your organization? Well, you can do simple things like allowing the community to use your existing outdoor facilities. If you have a playground, a basketball court, walking trails, or picnic areas. You can also allow them indoors if you have a gym or a social hall, multi-purpose room, or even your kitchen. You can invite the community to join in your walking challenge, or if you have exercise classes or cooking classes. You can also welcome the community to participate in your community garden if you have one on your site, or if you have the funds and you can do it, maybe even building facilities or starting new programs for the community. Build that walking trail or put in that exercise facility if you have the way to do that. So there's a great resource out there that was developed by Change Lab Solutions called Congregation to Community, which really talks a whole lot more about open and shared use and gives you great ideas. And so I wanted to give you that link. And so that's what this is all about. And if you need even more ideas, we have some great opportunities coming up in the future. We have an event coming up in September on the 20th. It will be in Cary. And we have a national leader, Mark Benton, who will come and help you figure out how to promote walkability in your community. He will lead the group of participants through what we call a walk assessment, and you'll be able to figure out how you look at your roadways and sidewalks and bikeways and figure out if they actually support walking and biking. And if they don't, what do you need to do to make changes? So I'm going to turn it back over to Julia and let her talk to you about the upcoming Faithful Families training.
So we actually recently updated our Faithful Families blog, and now you can easily view and register for upcoming webinars and trainings on our events calendar. So the links are at the bottom there. And I didn't mention this before, but we will be sending a follow-up email after this webinar with all the links to the resources that we shared and the links to all these web pages in which you can actually find more information. So we have our upcoming webinars in August and November, and we have our North Carolina training coming up in December, on December 5th. For our local North Carolina health departments and non-FNF partners. They'll actually be a separate training for FNAP partners in 2018. And then our national training will be held on December 13th and 14th. So if you're interested in those, definitely go to our blog and read more about, you can find more information about those. And then before we move on to questions, I just want to share a couple other resources that came to mind as we're talking about walking and how faith communities can support their faith members in walking more and increasing their physical activity on a daily basis. So on the left there, we actually had a great webinar that was solely focused on the topic of shared use and how you can engage faith communities in both shared use and open use. So you can actually view and download that webinar from our blog's webinar archive page. And on the right there, we also have a guide to help communities create walking maps for their community. And these maps can be really, really simple or as complicated as you would like them to be. Some faith communities actually design walking maps for their parking lots. Or if they had trails close to their building in their neighborhood, they created walking trails and maps to make sure that folks stay safe while they're walking at whatever time of day. And again, all these resources will be shared with you all in a follow-up email, so you can find them soon. And now we would like to open up the floor for some questions. So if you have any questions, if you haven't done so already, please type them into the question box. And we'll give you guys a couple of minutes to type those in.
Okay, well, I guess we were so clear you have no questions.
If you guys do have questions, as you look through the resources and the materials that we share, please reach out to either Mary B. or myself. Our contact information is on that slide over there. And again, we'll be sending out a follow-up email with all the resources for you to share with your faith communities. Thank you all for listening in today. And Mary B., thank you for being part of this webinar.
Thank you, Julia. This was Julia's first webinar, and she did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Have a great week, everybody.
So we do have a question. Is there a recommended walkability assessment tool for that faith communities can use? Travis, I know you're coming to the training in September, so you will get those tools when you come there, and if you need it before then, we can send you that information.
It doesn't look like there are any more questions coming in. So thank you all again, and I hope you all have a great week.